So what is the Ducati SuperSport S? Well, it's a slightly more affordable and more practical sporting bike from Ducati in a kind of similar vein to older school sports tourers, I guess. The Ducati SuperSport takes the 937cc Testa Stretta motor from the Hypermotard, has Bosch ABS, Brembo M4 calipers, traction control and varying riding modes. It bears a strong resemblance to its bigger brother, the Panigale of course, but it also has raised handlebars and a more relaxed sports touring riding position. The clock's a colour TFT and it features daytime running lights. The S model has fully adjustable Öhlins suspension both front and rear. Ducati makes sports and touring pack accessories available from their catalogue. It makes about 113 horses and 72 torques at the crank. 80% of that torque is available at 3000 RPM, so very good for the road. And it weighs in at a very respectable 463 pounds wet. It also has a usable 4.2 gallon tank, so the range on it should be pretty fair. And the base model costs about 13,000, with the S just a little bit more at around 15. So what did I think of it after riding it? Well, style-wise, I think it's a very good looking machine and should invoke some kind of pride of ownership. In terms of the engine, while no Panigale, it certainly whips up to 100 mph in seconds and feels very lively. So for the road, more so than the track, it's pretty spot on. Gearbox wise, the Pro Shifter with what feels like rev matching to me is pure magic. Has a lovely sound to it when you're blipping it through the box. It's like the ECU pumps a little bit of fuel into the exhaust every time the Pro Shifter cuts in. You get that noise almost as you punt it through the box, which is really nice. You get that little pops and crackles with it too, and it's just a glorious feeling. Handling wise, it has excellent ground clearance, it holds a line and the tyres grip well. It's a Ducati sports bike, or a sporting bike from Ducati, so no amazing surprises for excellent handling. Braking wise, the M4 calipers give bags of feedback and provide smooth, strong bite, so they're top drawer. Comfort wise, the bars give wrists an easy time. Both of my wrists are full of titanium and they didn't give me any kind of jib during the ride, so I think they're at a reasonable height. The seat is okay, but the shock is still pretty firm. It is a Ducati after all. Dash wise, the TFT clocks are clear and expectations like kind of rider modes etc. are all met with this bike. Controls wise, the latest switchgear works well, but mirrors are merely kind of average. Value wise, well, Ducatis are never cheap, are they? But it's a lot of fun for the money, and I think if you want this kind of bike, it's ballpark wise, it's about the right price. In summary, a few bikes are designed to be modern versions of old sports tourers. I'm talking ST4 and VFR 800 and Sprint STs, that kind of mould. And this really is a modern day version of that. And like a modern day version of those bikes, in this respect, it excels really. And it errs slightly on the side of sporty with regard to that, I would say. It's really designed for guys that don't want to give up their race replicas, but their bodies are calling time in terms of wrist, neck and backache. It would also suit someone who's less interested in track days and wants something that actually works on the road. We see that a lot in the car world these days, where manufacturers are chasing ever higher horsepower figures, which are very impressive, but when you actually look at the torque curves, sometimes the kind of sportier road versions rather than the track versions are actually producing much more torque and often horsepower at lower RPM, which is much more accessible on the road. And I would say this is an example of that. I can certainly ride a Panigale fast or an S1000RR fast, but for somebody like me, I would find this bike more enjoyable and more accessible on the road. And so I personally would buy something like this rather than, say, a Panigale, even though I could perhaps afford the more expensive machine. And I think that someone, as I say, who's maybe less interested in doing track days, wants to ride on the road more often, or maybe only does a track day once or twice a year, but is somebody who wants to ride hard in the mountains, around the twisties and in the canyons, and then wants to still be able to cruise the highway home without too much discomfort, I think Ducati have pitched this bike at that person, and all things considered, it's a good job. It's a good bike, the Ducati SuperSport S, and if you're in the market for something like this, I would definitely say go and ride one if you get the opportunity to. I hope you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and share and add your comments. I really appreciate it and I really enjoy reading them. And last but not least, ride often, ride carefully, and ride on.